Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, and today's video will be covering a new Nintendo Switch eShop sale and 10 great RPG deals worth buying, so let's get into it. The first game on today's list is Vampire's Fall Origins. Now this game blends elements of classic Diablo games mixed with some turn-based RPG combat. And so you'll have a basic character creation mode when you start this game, and you'll be able to choose from some simplistic elements to build out your character, but you'll also choose a specific bloodline that helps you gain abilities for your character. Now you'll play in a vampire village that's full of vampires, and you're really worried about an oncoming evil threat from a witch master, and so you need to go on a quest to defend your village and stop this evil threat. And so the storyline is a little bit funny and humorous as you play through the game. It's not overly engaging or epic by any means, but it does a good job to pull you along through the gameplay. There's a large skill tree that you can unlock and build for your character and customize them to fit your playstyle. There's a vast world to explore, a main storyline, as well as several side quests you can take on to really complete a lot of elements throughout the game. If you enjoy that classic Diablo feel and turn-based combat, I think you'll enjoy this game and is worth picking up. The second game on today's list is Roguebook. Now Roguebook is a roguelike deck building game meets turn-based RPG, and so it's a cool concept that blends a lot of elements that are a lot of fun together. And in the story, you find yourself trapped in a magic book and you need to find your way out of it and escape alive. And so this game is a little bit more open world-esque compared to maybe other deck building games such as Slay the Spire, where this time around you're exploring an overworld map in the form of a book, and it's procedurally generated, but you need to move throughout the map kind of like a tabletop RPG, and as you move you'll explore and uncover different hidden items and treasures and monster encounters as well. And so you have that freedom to choose where you want to go. But when you enter into combat, it's more of a turn-based battle mixed with a deck building game. And so you'll have your deck of cards that you'll use to activate your character's abilities. And then over time, you'll also be able to level up your characters, which grants you enhancements to your deck, unlocking new abilities and more powerful actions for your characters. This is definitely a really cool and unique RPG, and if you like turn-based combat, deck building games, and board games, I think you'll enjoy this game as well. The third game on today's list is Moonlighter. Now in Moonlighter, you play as a young shopkeeper meets adventurer, and you're going to be trying to rebuild and beef up your small town and grow your fortune from exploring nearby dungeons and gathering loot that you eventually will sell in your store in hopes of becoming a successful merchant. And so this game has a really cool day-night cycle where by day you're running and managing your shop, and by night you're dungeon diving and exploring ancient ruins and dungeons, finding loot and bringing that back to town. And so throughout the town, there's other various merchants that you can encounter to level up your equipment and gear. But then as I mentioned, there's kind of a shop running sim during the day where you'll place your items up for sale, and over time you'll be able to upgrade your shop, enhancing how you can sell your items, making it more effective. You can hire some extra help to help you sell merchandise quicker. And it also has kind of a mini game element to it as well, where occasionally thieves might come into your store and try and steal items. So you'll need to take a break from selling and run and chase them out of your store to protect your goods. And so it's a really fun mechanic, and again, you gain items in your dungeon runs, but then you'll be able to sell them for profit and then use those profits to upgrade yourself and the town, which is a really addicting gameplay loop. The dungeons are all roguelike as well, so they are procedurally generated, and so each time you go in, it's a slightly new experience, keeping the game fresh. And the overall dungeon crawling experience is a lot like classic Legend of Zelda titles with that style of action combat. This is definitely one of my favorite RPGs on the Switch, and if you haven't played Moonlighter yet, I definitely recommend picking it up. The fourth game on today's list is .hack GU Last Recode. Now this game is more of a remaster of some classic .hack games, and you actually get access to 4 games in the series in this collection. And these games actually take place in a MMORPG video game called The World. And so you're actually playing a game within a game. It kind of had a Sword Art Online feel to it. And on your first day in this MMORPG, as you're exploring with a friend, they actually get player killed and end up going into a coma in real life. And this has actually been a frequent occurrence in the world. And so you dive into this mystery of why this is happening while exploring this world as you play this game within the game. And so it's a really cool concept, and it has fast-paced action combat as well. And again, it kind of has that similar feel to playing an MMORPG, but it is more of a single-player experience. So you'll have dungeon diving where you take on different quests, and then sort of a hub world area as well, where you can interact with other characters and NPCs within the game. The fact that you get 4 games in one with this also makes it such a great deal. And so if you want to check out this classic Dot Hack collection, I definitely recommend it. The 5th game on today's list is Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. Now this is actually a port of the original PS3 game, and it's a definite classic RPG from that era. And the game itself has a very compelling story. I won't go into all the details because that's definitely one of the best parts, to see that story unravel as you play. But it definitely has amazing visuals, and it's almost like you're playing an anime. And so as you eventually get sucked into this fantasy world, you'll be building an arsenal and team of familiars that can join you in combat. And so it almost had a Pokemon-like feel to it, but you'll be controlling your character as well as familiars that you bring along with you in battle. It definitely can get pretty challenging though, despite its overall childlike anime look to it. So definitely be prepared for the need to grind at some points to power up your characters, as you might need to do that during some challenging parts throughout the game. This is definitely a great RPG experience, and I think if you haven't played the original and want to check out this version on Switch, it's definitely worth picking up. The 6th game is Dying Light: The Definitive Edition. And so this game is an open world action RPG meets survival horror zombie game. And so it's kind of like if they took a cross between a zombie horror game and Skyrim or Oblivion from the Elder Scrolls series. And so in this game, you play as a covert agent as they're airdropped into a Middle Eastern city, Haran, and you're actually diving into this city to try and combat an organization that is trying to blackmail your organization. And upon airdropping into this city, you're actually bit by one of the zombies and become infected. And so not only are you trying to stop this organization, you're trying to save yourself and figure out how you can survive during this zombie apocalypse outbreak in this city. And so it's a really cool concept and intriguing story, but the game definitely shines the most in its addicting, fast-paced gameplay. And so one thing that's really cool about this game is that you will parkour or free run around the city. And so you'll be jumping over the top of cars, climbing walls, jumping from rooftop to rooftop, and combating enemy zombies along the way. And so the game has a really intense day-night cycle, where during the day you might complete missions and try and explore the city and find items and keep yourself alive. And at night, the zombies intensify, and so you'll really need to be careful as you try and explore the city during the night hours. Another really fun element is that you'll level up your character based on the abilities that you're using. And so again, the more agile you get, the more intense your parkour and free running becomes. And so it's a really fun, fast-paced game experience, and I definitely recommend it. The 7th game is Tales of Vesperia: The Definitive Edition. Now this game is one of the great entries in the long-running Tales series, and this time around you start as a young hero that is trying to steal a powerful core that has been supporting his poor section of town, but it's actually stolen, and so he decides to steal another one from the wealthy section of town. Unfortunately, he gets captured along the way and imprisoned, but you quickly break yourself out and meet up with a young woman that is actually searching for one of your old friends, and you depart on an adventure that finds you traveling across the world in a much larger experience as you progress through the game. And definitely, like other games in the Tales series, it really shines in its action combat that kind of feels like a combination of an action RPG meets fighting game. And so you'll go in controlling one of your characters, and you'll assign different moves or arts to the different buttons on the controller. And so this is where it has that fighting game like feel to it, because you'll be running around the screen, attacking enemies, creating combos based on what you assign to your character's buttons. But you can also assign buttons to other characters on your team to help you out in a pinch. So maybe it's healing your characters or casting a specific spell, using an item. There's a lot of options and flexibility in the combat system. You can also choose what characters you want to play as and build out your team, and you can switch between them during combat. And so that's a lot of fun as well. Now there's a vast open world to explore as you progress throughout the game. There's a ton of different secrets and side quests to take on as well. Really cool voice acting, and this definitive edition actually includes some extra content that wasn't originally included in the original English release. And so if you like fast-paced action RPGs with an epic story, I definitely recommend this one as well. The 8th game is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. And so in this game, you'll actually be exploring the vast world of Dragon Ball Z, plus it opens up some branching paths into the Dragon Ball Super timeline as well. And so this is more of an open world action RPG meets 3D fighting game set in the Dragon Ball universe. And so again, you'll cover elements from the original storyline, from the start of the series on through the Boo series. And as I mentioned, you'll also tap into a couple different series elements from Dragon Ball Super. And so you'll relive a lot of the classic battles from the series, but you also have a vast open world to explore to take on additional missions that would have taken place during that timeline of the series. And so it has that fast-paced action fighting game style combat, but you also have some great RPG elements as well, because as you defeat enemies and complete missions, you'll earn orbs that you can use to build out a skill tree for your character, customizing them to your liking. I think if you enjoy Dragon Ball Z, you'll definitely like this game. Plus it has the great RPG elements to keep you coming back for more. Now playing on the Switch version, you might not get the same type of high-end visual experience as you would playing on a PlayStation or Xbox, but the gameplay elements are still a great time. And if Switch is your only option to get the game, I would definitely recommend picking it up here. Or if you just want to play it on the go, this is another great option, and it's on a huge discount right now. And so if you like RPGs and Dragon Ball Z, I definitely recommend it. The 9th game is Write and Down. And so Write and Down is a roguelike dungeon crawler RPG mixed with a puzzle game. And so in this game, you'll choose from a variety of heroes at the beginning of your run, and then you'll dive into a dungeon with the goal of clearing all 50 floors and making it out alive. And so each character plays slightly different, but the general concept of the game is pretty unique, where you enter this grid-based dungeon and your only option is to either move right or down. And so the panels throughout this dungeon will be made up of enemies, healing potions, gold, item, armor buffs for your character, and more. And so you'll need to strategically map your way to the bottom right corner in every single dungeon by either moving right or down. And so if you move through enemies, you're going to either be sacrificing your armor or your health to defeat them, and you'll get experience in exchange for defeating those enemies. And then as you explore these dungeons, you'll eventually be able to level up and power up your character, learning new abilities and finding additional relics as you explore. On top of that, your character will have a variety of special moves that they can learn, and you'll activate them by doing a specific series of right and down movements. So you might move right 3 times and down once to unlock a special ability that hurts all the enemies on the screen, and a variety of other moves like that. And so this can definitely play a part in your strategy as you try and clear the dungeons. This is definitely a unique and really cool dungeon crawler meets puzzle experience with some great RPG elements as well. And so if you like what you see, I would recommend picking this one up as well. And the 10th game on today's list is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. And so this game is a successor to the Castlevania series and made by some of the original creators. And it plays very similar to classic Castlevania titles like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, as well as some of the Game Boy Advance titles like Dawn of Sorrow and Aria of Sorrow. And so it has that Metroidvania meets RPG experience with it. And in this game, you're going to be playing as a young shardbinder, Miriam, that has unique powers of taking shards from enemies and learning their powers. And so you've awoken after a long slumber to find that another shard binder has gone rogue and is threatening the destruction of the world and revenge on his enemies. And so you go on a quest to stop them. And so the game features great exploration as well as action platforming, and you'll be able to collect shards from a variety of enemies throughout the game, similar to the titles from the Game Boy Advance, as I mentioned, Dawn of Sorrow and Area of Sorrow. But instead of collecting souls, you're collecting these shards to learn monsters' abilities, as well as power-ups that can allow you to access new areas within the game. This is really addicting as well because you can power up these shard abilities the more you collect. On top of that, there's a huge selection of weapons and armor and items and accessories you find throughout the game that you can equip to your character, powering them up further. There's a huge world to explore, intense boss fights, and if you like classic Castlevania action platforming and RPG elements, and a storyline similar to the Castlevania series, I would definitely recommend it. Well, again, that wraps up today's video on 10 new great RPG deals worth buying in this latest Nintendo Switch eShop sale. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. And if you're going to pick up any of these games, let us know in the comments below, or if you've played these before, let us know your thoughts on these games as well. And if you'd like to help support the channel, consider becoming a patron of ours at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. And another great way to support the channel is we actually partnered with a game store. So if you want to pick up things like Pokemon cards, Magic cards, board games, and more, you can actually head to nutmeggames.com/nerdproblemsgaming or use our promo code nerdproblemsgaming at checkout. You'll actually get 10% off your order and help support our channel at the same time. And if you guys like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, be sure to check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out, and to make sure you don't miss out on any future sales videos so you can take advantage of these great deals. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.